Ladies and gentlemen, there are moments in life when everything falls apart, not gradually, not gently, but suddenly and all at once. One day you think you're in control, and the next, you're not even sure who you are. The mirror reflects a version of you that feels unfamiliar. The world moves on, but you're left holding the broken pieces of what once felt like certainty. I've lived through a moment like that. A moment that stopped time for me, but not for the world. A moment that whispered, "This is the end," while deep inside something else whispered back, "No, this is the beginning." Positive thinking is not denial. It's choosing hope despite the pain. This idea is often misunderstood. People assume that thinking positively means closing your eyes to suffering, ignoring what's broken, or pretending that everything is fine when it clearly isn't. But the truth is far more powerful than that. Positive thinking is not about painting a fake smile on your face or burying your grief under shallow affirmations. It's about facing the storm and saying, even here, even now, I will find something worth holding on to. It's not about erasing the darkness. It's about refusing to let the darkness erase you. When life shatters around you and nothing looks familiar anymore, the first instinct is to mourn, to sit with the weight of everything that's gone wrong. And that is necessary. The pain demands to be felt. It comes like waves, sometimes quiet, sometimes loud enough to drown everything else. In those moments, positive thinking doesn't come in the form of instant relief. It doesn't shout or demand attention. It whispers. It's quiet but steady, like the light of a single candle in a dark room. It says, "You're still here. That means something. That matters." It's the decision to sit with the pain, to acknowledge it, but not to become it. Choosing hope doesn't mean you have all the answers. It doesn't mean you are never afraid or never cry. It means you give yourself permission to feel broken without believing that you are worthless. It means you allow yourself to grieve, and at the same time, you give yourself permission to heal. There is power in that. There is strength in the decision to carry on when everything in you says stop. That is what positive thinking truly is. It's not loud. It doesn't always look brave. Sometimes it's just a quiet refusal to give up. So many people are scared of appearing weak. They think that if they admit pain, they'll lose the image they've worked hard to build. But strength isn't in the image. It's in the truth. And the truth is, you can be broken and beautiful at the same time. You can be hurting and healing in the same breath. Positive thinking is not about avoiding the mess. It's about seeing the beauty in the mess. It's about learning to love yourself when you are at your lowest, when nothing makes sense, when the world has turned its back and you have nothing left but your own heartbeat. There are days when getting out of bed feels like climbing a mountain. On those days, positive thinking doesn't mean pretending you feel fine. It means reminding yourself that even small steps matter, that even if all you can do is breathe, that breath is a beginning. It's about trusting that just as seasons change, this too will pass. It's the willingness to look at a long, difficult road ahead and still take the first step, knowing it will be hard, knowing you might stumble, but going anyway. That is real courage. That is real positivity. There will always be people who tell you to stay strong or be happy, as if it's that simple. But strength is not about smiling through pain. It's about allowing yourself to be vulnerable without shame. It's about knowing that falling apart doesn't mean you're weak. It means you've been strong for too long. Positive thinking is holding on to light even when your hands feel empty. It's saying yes to life, even when life has given you every reason to say no. It's not about escaping your reality, but about creating a new meaning within it. Your mind can take you places your body cannot. There comes a time in everyone's life when the body feels like a boundary, when circumstances confine you, when the world outside shrinks and you are left in a space that feels too small for your dreams. In such moments, the body may feel broken, trapped, limited, but the mind, if nurtured, remains free. The body can be restricted by walls, by wounds, by the laws of physics, but the imagination knows no such limits. The spirit of a person lives not in their limbs, but in their thoughts, their beliefs, their dreams. That is where true movement begins. When you are faced with stillness, whether by choice or by force, your mind becomes your greatest strength. It becomes your path to creation, exploration, and resilience. You may not be able to walk the roads you once did, or hold the tools you once used, but your thoughts can travel farther than your footsteps ever could. You can dream wider than your eyes can see. The mind, when set free, is a canvas for possibility. It lets you write stories no hand has written, sing songs no voice has sung, and shape meaning out of moments that the world might otherwise forget. There is a power that lives in the ability to imagine more than what is in front of you. When people see limitation, the mind can see opportunity. When the world says you can't, the mind whispers, "But what if you can, in another way?" It begins to rewire itself, not just to accept change, but to evolve within it. A person who has truly discovered the strength of their mind no longer waits for the perfect moment or the perfect condition. They create from the imperfect, from the broken, from the paused. They understand that movement isn't always physical. Sometimes the most powerful journey is the one that begins inside. People often place value on what the body can do, how fast it runs, how high it climbs, how hard it works. But what about what the mind can carry? What about the courage it takes to stay positive when everything feels uncertain? What about the strength it takes to forgive, to let go, to dream again? That kind of strength doesn't come from muscles or motion. It comes from a mind trained to rise above limitation, to stretch beyond suffering, to hold on to vision even in the darkest hour. There are stories that live inside people, stories they write every day just by choosing to continue. Not all battles are visible. Some are fought in silence, in thought, in the quiet moments when no one is watching. In those moments, the mind is both the battlefield and the weapon. It holds the memory of who you were and the hope of who you can become. It takes the present, however painful, and transforms it into a stepping stone for growth. Even in stillness there can be movement, even in isolation there can be connection, even in silence there can be music. These things don't come from the body, they come from the mind, and when the body cannot go where the heart wants to follow, the mind becomes the bridge. It holds your purpose, it guards your dreams. It is the space where you rebuild yourself, one thought at a time, one vision at a time, until you are no longer bound by what you've lost. To nurture the mind is to free yourself. It is to remember that while circumstances may shift and the physical may change, there is always a place within you untouched by failure, untouched by limitation. That place is where your strength begins. That is where your journey never ends. Scars are not shameful. They are signs of survival and growth. Every scar tells a story, and not all of them are written on the skin. Some are etched deep into the soul, hidden behind smiles, hidden behind silence. We live in a world that glorifies perfection, that airbrushes flaws and filters out anything that looks too real. But scars are real. They are proof that pain was once there, that something happened that left a mark, and yet you are still here. A scar means you did not stay broken forever. A scar means you healed at least enough to carry on. People often try to hide their scars. They wear long sleeves over them, speak softly around them, pretend they don't exist. But there is no shame in being hurt. There is no weakness in being wounded. To have a scar means you were brave enough to face something difficult. It means you walked through fire, and though it changed you, it did not destroy you. The world may tell you to be flawless, to never fall, to always be strong. But real strength comes from those who have fallen and found a way to rise again with grace, even if they are limping. A scar is not a failure. It is not a stain. It is not a reminder of what went wrong. It is a reminder of what you survived. It says, something happened here, it hurt, but it did not end me. That is something to be proud of. Because the truth is, everyone is carrying something. Everyone has a history that shaped them, pain that molded them, moments that tested them. And if we all stopped pretending to be untouched, we would see that what truly connects us is not how perfect we look, but how beautifully we have healed from the things that tried to break us. Growth is not gentle. It often comes through struggle, through loss, through discomfort. It rarely comes wrapped in comfort or ease, but what emerges from that struggle is not just survival. It is transformation. It is wisdom. It is compassion. People who have scars know how to see others with softness. They know how to sit with someone else's pain without rushing to fix it, because they've learned to sit with their own. That is the gift that scars can give, not just resilience, but empathy. Some of the most inspiring people are not those who never fell, but those who fell and got back up again with their hearts still open. People who stopped running from their past and started embracing it, not because it was easy, but because it was real. They allowed their experiences to shape them, not in bitterness, but in strength. They learned to love themselves, not in spite of their scars, but because of them, because those scars told the story of how they kept going. A scar is a reminder that something ended, but also that something new began. It is a reminder that pain came and went, but left behind the courage to keep moving forward. It's the evidence of healing, not always perfect, not always complete, but always meaningful. And in that healing there is beauty, in that survival there is dignity, in that growth there is quiet triumph. You can look at your scars and see defeat, or you can look at them and see power. You can hide them and carry shame, or you can show them and carry pride. They are not signs of what you've lost. They are signs of what you've overcome. They are part of your story, and every story matters, especially the ones written in pain and healed through time. Pain can be a teacher, not just a tormentor. It arrives uninvited, often unwanted, and yet it never leaves without giving something in return. When pain comes into our lives, the first reaction is usually resistance. We ask why, we demand answers, we want to escape. We treat pain as the enemy, something to fight against or flee from. But pain has a language of its own. It speaks not in words, but in lessons, not in comfort, but in growth. It doesn't break us without also offering the opportunity to build something new in its place. There are kinds of pain that shake the foundation of who you thought you were. Loss, rejection, failure, betrayal. These are the kinds of experiences that feel like they take something essential from you. And maybe they do, but they also give you something you never would have found otherwise. They introduce you to parts of yourself you didn't know existed. They show you strength you never had to summon before. Pain takes away the illusion of control and forces you to find meaning in places you never looked. It strips away distractions, silences the noise, and asks you to pay attention to what really matters. Growth rarely happens in comfort. When everything is going well, there is little reason to look inward, little reason to question or change. But when pain shows up, it turns the mirror on you. It asks who you are when nothing is certain. It asks what you believe when everything is tested. It demands honesty. It demands presence. And in that process, it teaches you what matters. It teaches you what you're made of. It teaches you how to let go, how to forgive, how to begin again. Pain does not always come with clarity. Often, its lessons are revealed slowly, like a photograph developing in silence. You may not understand it while you are in it. You may not be able to see beyond the tears, beyond the chaos. But with time, pain begins to show its purpose. It reveals what was out of alignment, what needed to end, what had to change. It sheds light on the lies we tell ourselves, the places where we compromised too much, the relationships that were hollow, the dreams that were no longer ours. Pain does not lie. It is honest, raw, and real, and sometimes it is the only thing strong enough to wake us up. There is a kind of wisdom that can only be earned through suffering. It is not the kind of knowledge found in books or learned through advice. It is the kind of wisdom carved into the soul by experience. People who have suffered deeply often carry a quiet depth in their presence. They don't speak loudly. They don't need to prove anything. They have been humbled by life. They understand that joy is not something to be taken for granted, and that peace is not something that happens by accident. They've walked through the fire and come out not untouched, but transformed. Pain makes us more human. It softens the heart, opens the eyes, deepens the soul. It connects us to others in ways nothing else can. When you've known pain, you begin to recognize it in the eyes of others. You stop judging so quickly. You start listening more. You become someone who can sit with someone else's sorrow without trying to fix it, because you know that sometimes being seen is enough. Sometimes just knowing that someone else understands is the beginning of healing. The pain you carry is not a weakness. It is not a flaw. It is a part of your becoming. It is the part of your story that holds weight, that teaches depth, that reveals the kind of resilience that only comes from walking through what you thought you couldn't survive. You don't need to erase emotions, just don't let them stay too long. Emotions are part of being human. They rise like tides, sometimes gently, sometimes with overwhelming force. Joy, sorrow, anger, fear, love, grief. Each emotion has its own texture, its own rhythm. But somewhere along the way, we are taught that feeling too much makes us weak, that we should smile through the storm, that tears are something to hide. We are told to suppress what we feel, to tuck it away behind routines, distractions, and polished masks. Yet emotions are not meant to be buried. They are meant to be acknowledged, held, and understood. Suppressing emotions does not make them disappear. It only makes them louder in the quiet, more persistent in the dark. What we avoid feeling begins to live in us in other ways, through stress, anxiety, disconnection. But when we give ourselves permission to feel without shame, something begins to shift. Sadness, when acknowledged, starts to soften. Anger, when understood, reveals its root. Fear, when faced, begins to shrink. Emotions are not our enemies. They are messengers. They tell us something about what matters to us, what we long for, what we need to release, what we still carry. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel lost, to feel tired, to feel heartbroken. These are not signs of weakness. These are signs of life. They show that something touched you deeply enough to move you. The danger is not in feeling deeply. The danger is in getting stuck. When you let an emotion take permanent residence, it begins to shape your world, not just your day. A moment of pain can become a mindset. A period of grief can become an identity. Holding on to emotion long after its moment has passed can blur the line between reality and memory. Healing does not mean never feeling again. It means learning how to carry emotions without letting them carry you. It means knowing when to listen to what your heart is saying and when to gently guide it forward. It means honoring the space between holding and letting go. There is a delicate strength in being able to sit with what you feel without letting it define you. Emotions may visit, but they do not need to unpack and stay. You can feel sadness without becoming a sad person. You can feel fear without becoming a fearful soul. There is wisdom in emotional movement. Just as seasons change and tides shift, emotions are meant to flow. They are not static. They are not meant to freeze us in place. When we begin to notice them without judgment, we learn how to navigate them with grace. We learn that it's possible to feel pain and still show kindness, to feel anger and still choose restraint, to feel lost and still take one more step. Emotional maturity is not the absence of feeling. It's the presence of awareness, the ability to observe without drowning. When you allow emotions to visit without making them your home, you make space for healing. You begin to recognize that moments of despair are not the end of the story, that joy can still return, that laughter can still echo. That peace can still find its way back to you. It doesn't happen by pretending that pain isn't real. It happens by letting it pass through you, not settle inside you. You become someone who feels deeply, lives honestly, and loves fiercely without being ruled by what you feel. You begin to carry emotion with open hands, not clenched fists. You learn how to honor what arises without letting it build walls around your spirit. The light you seek outside is already within you. We are raised in a world that constantly tells us to look outward for validation, direction, and meaning. From a young age, we are taught that happiness lies in achievements, in approval, in the acceptance of others. We are told that we must become something more, something better, something worthy, always in comparison to someone else. Slowly, the quiet inner voice becomes drowned out by noise. The world offers praise when you perform, attention when you conform, and love when you meet conditions. And in that pursuit, we often forget that we were never meant to chase our worth. It was always there, waiting to be remembered. There are moments when life brings everything to a halt, moments when you lose what you thought defined you. A relationship ends, a dream crumbles, a role is taken away, and suddenly you are left wondering who you are without those things. It is in those moments of silence and loss that something deeper begins to whisper. Not the loud, flashy voice of ego, but the gentle presence of your inner self, that part of you that doesn't depend on titles or applause, that part of you that remains even when everything else is stripped away. That part of you that carries light. It takes courage to stop looking outside and begin the inward journey. It is not always glamorous. It often feels uncomfortable, because in the silence you begin to face truths you've been avoiding. You begin to see the patterns you've repeated, the stories you've believed, the fears you've inherited. But it is also in this journey inward that you begin to reclaim the parts of you that were buried under expectation. You begin to remember that you are not broken, not empty, not lacking. You are simply rediscovering what has always been yours. The world may try to tell you that you are small, that you are only as good as your last success, that your voice matters only if it echoes what others want to hear. But the truth is, you carry something that cannot be taken away, a light that flickers even in your darkest moments, a strength that does not shout, but holds you when no one else is watching. You carry kindness, even when the world is harsh. You carry resilience, even when you feel fragile. You carry a light that does not depend on circumstances to shine. It's easy to be blinded by the world's definition of success. Easy to forget your own value when you are constantly measuring it against others. But real power comes from within, from knowing who you are, not who you are told to be, from recognizing that your story, with all its twists and wounds, has shaped a person of depth, a person who has faced storms and still chooses to rise, a person who knows that the light within is not the absence of darkness, but the courage to keep glowing despite it. You don't need to search for permission to be enough. You don't need to wait for someone to come and save you. You don't need to wait for a perfect moment, a perfect version of yourself, a perfect place, because everything you need to begin again already lives inside you. You are the one who can choose differently. You are the one who can offer yourself grace. You are the one who can decide to stop running and turn inward, to listen, to trust, to begin. That light within you, it has been there since the beginning. It never left. It was only waiting for you to see it again.